Hi, everybody.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome from Memmingen. Welcome back to another Novoflex webinar. Hi, Matt. How are you?
I'm great, Martin. How you doing? Hello from New York.
Hello from Memmingen. I'm doing great. So today's webinar will cover a topic that we haven't talked about in any of our past webinars. Why
That's
is that,
true.
Matt? Why is that?
Why is that? Well,
Did
because now,
we did we
now is the
forget
right
to
time.
speak? Did
No,
we
because
forget about to speak about lens adapters at
no,
all?
we chose this time. Now is the right time. Right.
Exactly.
Yep.
Good answer. I like that.
Yeah. So tell us in the chat where you're tuning in from. We're always curious about that.
Mhm.
We like as the tribe grows. And a little bit of housekeeping. You know what to do. Unless it's your first time, use the chat to talk to each other. You can ask us questions if it's not about the webinar. If it is about the webinar, try and use the Q&A. Then we'll look for those specifically. And yeah, today we have a great presentation about using lens adapters, uh, sometimes with vintage lenses on modern digital cameras. There's a lot of great information coming in.
Well, actually, for my part of the presentation, Matt, it's
Mhm.
almost exclusively about using vintage lenses on modern day cameras. Well, you covered the part of using more modern lenses or remakes of vintage lenses on modern
You're
day
giving it
cameras.
away, Martin. You're giving it away. But you're right. Yeah. Yeah. Now let's have some fun. So let's see. We've got Armenia and Sweden, Cambridge and Scotland, everybody from all around the world. Lakewood, California, Washington,
UK,
Massachusetts, London, Williamson, New York, Newton, Mass.
Scotland.
Hey, Jason. Good to see you. Reading and Michael Buse. And the Big Easy. Nollins. Fantastic. All right.
We have several familiar faces or names at least
It's true.
in here that I recognize from
Yep.
previous webinars.
Nice. Hey,
Hello, Harud. Hello, Kim.
how
Been
about
here
we get into it?
before. Yeah, why not?
All
Let's
right.
jump right into it.
Boom. There we are.
Boom, there it is. Artful use of vintage lenses on modern digital cameras. We chose an interesting title for this one. Meet your hosts. By now you should
That's us.
know both of us.
Yeah.
But Matt, you have a new picture.
I do. I
What
do.
happened?
What
I like
happened?
the old one.
Oh, it's 2025. I needed a new picture.
Great. That's good.
Yeah.
So Novoflex lens adapters. This presentation will cover. We have a lot of ground to cover here, and before we show you some interesting pictures, some pictures that I shot with vintage lenses, and before we talk about my go-to vintage lenses and Matt's go-to vintage lenses, we have to talk a little bit about well, the technique behind the lens adapters. What makes a lens adapter different from an extension tube, for example? How do we make lens adapters here at Novoflex? And yeah, how does a lens adapter actually work? And why aren't certain camera lens combinations possible? And why aren't certain lens combinations not possible? Right?
Right.
So, what camera bodies are compatible, which lens mounts are compatible, how to achieve infinity focus, a topic that we get a lot of questions from you, qualities of lenses that we love. That's what we will be talking about today. So how do lens adapters actually work? So in order to explain that, we need to introduce a term, which is flange focal distance first. I don't know if any one of you has ever heard of that term. Matt, you did?
I have. Yep.
Awesome. So every camera lens system has a specific fixed distance between the lens mount and the sensor. And in order for a lens to properly work on a given camera system, this distance must be produced or made with very high precision. And that's also part of the question, how do we reach infinity focus? Matt, is there anything you would like to add from your time at Mamiya in terms of flange focal distance?
Well, some lenses extend beyond the
Hmm.
lens mount itself. Like I was thinking of the Mamiya 7 with the legendary 43 millimeter lens. Half of the lens is
Right.
in front of the lens mount and half of it's behind the lens mount. So it really matters sometimes to have the appropriate amount of distance between where the actual lens
I
bayonet
agree.
is.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah. And where the optics live. So it depends on the designer and the body and all that stuff. So it can vary, which is why you really have to pay attention to this.
So designing lenses is a complex topic,
No
right?
kidding. Yeah. I wanted to study it, and as soon as I saw the math involved, I jumped ship. So
Okay, so to make it well more understandable, I've added some graphics here on this slide. So flange focal distance is the exact distance that is marked with the red arrow here. So naturally, the flange focal distance is bigger in an SLR camera because an SLR camera needs space for the mirror in between the lens mount and, of course, the film plane or the sensor plane. And in a mirrorless camera, the flange focal distance can be much smaller because, as is applied in the name, a mirrorless camera doesn't need a mirror. So, right, exactly. So the next slide explains what a lens adapter actually does. It so if you use a lens adapter on a mirrorless camera, we actually cover the space that is, well, now left in between the SLR lens and the mirrorless camera because the mirrorless camera doesn't have the mirror anymore, and the space that is still there can be covered by the lens adapter, right, Matt?
Yep, absolutely.
So underneath the graphic, I've added some particular camera lens combinations to make it more understandable. So the flange focal distance in a Nikon F system, for example, is precisely 46.5 millimeters. And if, for example, you would like to use that Nikon F lens on a mirrorless Canon RF mount camera, which has a flange focal distance of 20 millimeters, the adapter needs to have a width of exactly 26.5 millimeters. So in other words, the Nikon f-mount lens, when used with the adapter, sits in the same distance from the sensor plane as it would on a Nikon DSLR camera. And the same with the Leica M to Fujifilm X adapter, the Leica R to L mount adapter. So the adapter fills the gap in between the SLR lens and the mirrorless mount.
Yeah, in a real simple terms,
Sure.
the advent of mirrorless cameras left space for us to adapt all sorts of lenses that never
Well,
would have fit otherwise.
not necessarily all sorts of
Don't be so
lenses, but
literal. A lot of
lenses.
lenses that would have never fit on a mirror
Right,
box
right,
camera can now fit interchangeably between multiple brands of cameras. There's a huge world of
right,
opportunity.
uh, right. And to make it more precise, it is about lenses coming from a system with a higher flange focal distance.
Precisely. Yep.
Yeah. So why Novoflex adapters? Of course, you're here in a Novoflex webinar. Of course, it's because of the high precision manufacturing, which makes for a reliable fit. The flange distance of our adapters, this is probably new to some of you, is intentionally made shorter than nominal, but only in the range of a hundredth of a millimeter. And this guarantees infinity focus with all compatible lenses. And we do this to ensure infinity focus even with slightly maladjusted lenses. So you might have noticed that some of your vintage lenses that were sitting on the shelf collecting dust over the years might have been slightly out of adjustment. But even with those lenses and Novoflex lens adapters, you can be sure that you will be able to reach infinity focus.
Mm.
We apply a matte black interior finish to reduce stray light and reflections. And the varnish that we use to apply that matte black interior finish is a very expensive varnish. Some that not every lens mount adapter maker out there is willing to pay.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So I've added some pictures of how we make adapters. Of course, first comes the lace. We use, for most of our adapters, we use aluminum and brass parts. And of course, we continuously check the dimensions after machining and throughout the assembly to make sure we precisely nail the flange focal distance of the adapter and to ensure infinity focus, of course. This is how we apply the matte flat interior finish to reduce the stray light.
Mm.
It's a spray paint, of course. Measuring again. And then comes the collimator work. The collimator is a technical tool that projects the image of a reference pattern towards infinity. So it has a built-in lens that projects that infinity pattern towards infinity. And by mounting a camera, the lens adapter, and said lens in front of that collimator, we can check if the adapter meets the exact criteria to achieve infinity focus. And to the right, you notice the reference pattern, and the individual lines here need to separate. And once this becomes visible, we know that the adapter has the exact width to ensure infinity focus. Matt, right before the webinar, you were telling me that while at Mamiya, you were also working with collimators, right?
Well, I observed the repair technicians working
Mm-hmm.
with them. I was not permitted to be a repair technician, but I hung out with them, and I really admired the craft of calibrating and repairing cameras. It was really fascinating to me.
So actually, the collimator work, we do it actually twice. So when designing an entirely new lens adapter, we create some raw adapters which are still unanodized, which are still blank adapters, and to find out the exact width that the adapter should have, the final adapter should have, we create several different widths in the 100th millimeter range, and a difference of a 100th millimeter range go to the collimator, check with different lenses to find the exact width of the final adapter. And of course, we go back to the collimator once the adapter is machined, is ready, is anodized, and we perform a final check before the adapter leaves our factory.
It's astounding the amount of care and engineering and effort that you put into making sure that these tools are just exactly what they should be.
Thank you. So you may wonder which camera bodies and lens mount combinations are possible. And to tell you that, I've created a little chart. If you like, just screenshot it, but we can also send it out in the follow-up email. These are so on the left you have all the camera mounts, and on the top you have all the lens mounts that we can somehow combine. And with the different letters, I denoted peculiarities in some of the adapters. For example, some lenses, namely Mamiya RB and RZ lenses, require bellows in order to achieve focus in between. Some adapters, namely Nikon, Minolta, and adapters for Nikon, Minolta, and Pentax lenses feature a built-in iris control to enable the use of lenses for that mount that do not come with an aperture control ring anymore. And some adapters are even composed of two two adapters. These are adapters for medium format lenses. And these adapter kits are composed of an adapter that attaches to the medium format lens, and the second adapter goes from the first adapter to the camera. And should you ever switch camera mounts, you just have to swap the rear adapter and keep the front adapter for the lens. It's as easy as that. So infinity focus, do we really need to worry about it? Well, I already told you guys that we build our adapters intentionally shorter to secure infinity focus with all lenses out there, newer ones, correctly adjusted ones, and even slightly maladjusted ones. And by doing this, we can achieve that all lenses will be able to reach infinity, and this does not pose a real world problem for most photography. On the other hand, modern digital cameras include focusing aids such as focus peaking. They include a magnifier, and Fujifilm cameras even include split screen simulation and digital microprism, which can be activated in the menu. And if you would like, I can show you how focus peaking works. I've added a little setup here with a vintage trio plan lens, which is set to f2.8. And the focus peaking, you notice that at some corners of this little setup in front of me will appear in red. And once the red light appears, those parts of the image will be coming into focus. Oops, sorry. And by stopping down the lens, you will notice that the depth of field will extend throughout the entire image. So using focusing aids such as focus peaking and the split screen image on a Fujifilm camera, it's actually quite easy to nail focus.
What a great technique.
Do you have anything you would like to add, Matt? Are you using focus peaking or magnifier yourself when shooting with manual lenses?
I'm so used to zooming in for the night photography that I do that's right. My habit. I generally don't turn on focus peaking because it doesn't work well at night with low contrast objects. So yeah, I often zoom in, or I add a strong light source. I carry a flashlight and hold it off to the side and cast a strong shadow.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
When I do that, I can usually nail it. But I love your focus peaking trick. I may pick that up. Yeah.
So there's certain people out there who want to use hard stop focusing. So they just turn the focus ring until it stops, and they want to, by doing so, they think that they can reach infinity precisely, which of course is not a technique true. That we would that we endorse.
Nope.
It is better to use the focusing aids, to zoom in, to use focus peaking or the split screen simulation, which is superior to hard stop focusing. Yeah,
agreed.
Definitely.
Yeah. Infinity on a manual focus lens is rarely infinity. So that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So tripod colors, nice to have, or absolutely essential. A nice accessory that we offer to most of our lens adapters are tripod colors. Well, why would you need a tripod color when shooting with manual lenses, you may ask? Well, it's quite simple. When you would like to use a longer focal length, an old tele lens, a 300, 400, 500 millimeter lens, these lenses tend to be quite front heavy. And most of these lenses do not come with their own tripod color. So we've designed tripod colors that fit our adapters. So you just slide them on from the back, and you can still rotate the camera from landscape to portrait orientation quite easily by loosening the blue knob there. You can rotate the camera freely. So it's a nice accessory to any Novoflex adapter.
That's great.
And of course, all of these tripod collars are ARCA compatible, have 1/4" 20 and 3/8" 16 threads. So they are compatible with any tripod out there.
Mm.
Aren't Bellows just another kind of adapter? I mentioned early into our presentation that certain lenses require Bellows to be used on modern day cameras because they lack their own focusing helix by design. For example, our Mamiya RB and RC 6.7 lenses, because they on a Mamiya RB and RC 6.7 camera, these cameras had a built-in bellows to focus the lenses. Or these lenses are intended for specific purposes, such as enlargers, large format cameras, or microscopes. And here, of course, all of you who join our webinars frequently, you know that we also build Bellows. And here the Bellows can also be used as an adapter to make these lenses work with modern digital cameras. Here's an image of our Schneider Pirate lens 90mm on a Fujifilm GFX camera using our Belpro TS Bellows. A Mamiya RZ 65mm lens on a Hasselblad X camera. And some specialty lenses. This is a Rodin stock lens on a Phase 1 100 megapixel digital back. So yes, to answer the question, we think that Bellows can also be called adapters.
Yep, that works.
Here, our good friend Robert Thompson has sent over some pictures. He's constantly, or he's in some of his applications, he's using a vintage Novoflex Bellows lens set. Let me show you which one. Oops. This is a 60mm old Novoflex SAR macro lens head that we built back in the days between the 60s and 80s. And he's using this Bellows lens head on a Belpro 1 Bellows and is producing many of his stunning macro images. He is encircled with the red circle. He has encircled the little, I think it's a little mushroom probably, that he has photographed here. Same here. Sometimes he is even reverse mounting that lens on the Bellows. Get to even higher magnifications. Same here. Could you just, yeah, that's it. So, okay, I think we've covered enough of the techniques behind lens adapters. Let's show some pictures.
Yeah.
Lens qualities. What is it that we truly love? I've created a little list that just came to mind. It's of course the unique bokeh color and rendering of most of these lenses, which is something that modern day autofocus lenses in most cases can do, right, Matt?
Yeah. Most faster lenses can have a pleasing bokeh, but I don't know. This is so emotional. The topic is
Right.
emotional. It can be
It is very
technical,
subjective.
but
You will see images that I shot with some vintage lenses that I truly love, and some of these lenses I've inherited from my grandfather, actually.
Wow.
So
That's
it's the build
special.
quality, it's the solid metal manual control. Some of these lenses aren't even anodized; they're just polished. So and if you hold them into your hands, you feel that this is a quality piece. Yeah, it's well, then it's optical floors, softness, vignetting, flare.
Yeah.
Rare focal lengths. I even shot with a 125 millimeter fixed focal length. I will show you the lens later. Creative freedom, full manual control. Compatibility fun. Adapters help you to mix and match modern day lenses with vintage lenses if you need a certain look for whatever you're shooting, for whatever task lies ahead of you. Heritage and nostalgia, and of course, exceptional character and build that justifies the cost.
Yeah.
So let's jump right into it. Here's a picture that a friend of mine shot with an old call size Jena, a Biometar 120 millimeter. That is actually a medium format lens for an old Pentagon 6.
Wow.
We just spoke about build quality. So the lens that is sitting on that old reflex housing on the Leica, the silver one, can you just
Yes.
point an arrow to it, is the 125 millimeter lens that I just mentioned.
Boop.
Yep. And this lens is a lens that back in the days only worked on the original Light's reflex housing. So you couldn't use it on a Leica rangefinder camera direct. You would have to purchase the reflex housing. And so the flange focal distance of that lens was designed to be used with a reflex housing.
Right.
That
was a terrible drawing.
Yeah.
The reflex housing is all of this.
Reflex housing.
Yep.
Then we have the Biotar 75 millimeter that is sitting on the Praktica camera in the right. That is a lens that I inherited from my grandfather. Then the Leica Noctilux sitting on the Leica M5 in the front. Truly astounding lens. It's a 50 millimeter f 1.0.
Wow.
Then the Trioplan 100 millimeter, the silver lens in the front, which has an interesting bokeh when shot wide open. And then a 35 millimeter Novoflex lens, which is an interesting lens. It's both a wide angle and a macro lens.
Is it that one?
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yep. So optical floors. These are two images that I shot with the Trioplan 100 millimeter. And if you shoot that lens wide open, of course it has a very shallow depth of field, but it creates something which is known as the soap bubble bokeh, which you notice in the image to the right. And interestingly, the soap bubble bokeh disappears once you stop down the lens. So if you stop down from f2.8 to f4, it is gone. Same here, Trioplan 100 millimeter. And that is also a vintage lens that is currently being rebuilt by a company in Germany. So you can actually purchase a brand new Trioplan nowadays.
Ooh.
And the original one was built between 1951 and 66 in 3 different models, and was originally designed as a medium format lens. So it will also cover medium format sensors. And interestingly, the soap bubble bokeh is caused by optical aberrations and internal reflections. So it definitely is a design flaw, which people use artistically nowadays. Call size Jena Tessera 2.850 standard lens used on most Exacta and Pentagon cameras back in the 50s and 60s, so nothing special. But even that lens, when you shoot it wide open at f2.8, will create an interesting background, as can be seen in this picture here that I shot like 10 years ago in New York City. Speaking of rare focal lengths, in my introduction, I mentioned the Leica Hector 125 millimeter lens. That lens, which originally could only be used on a mirror reflex housing, but I was able to attach it to a modern digital camera. And the interesting fact here is that this lens was designed out of a projector lens, and Lights just added a focusing helix to that lens, and well, made it work on their rangefinder cameras.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm. And as you see in the last point here, I adapted mine using the original Leica M adapter to a Nikon Z mount, and then I had to use an original part from Lights, which is available secondhand. It is called TXBOO, and this tube here, it covers the exact length of the old reflex housing, because using this lens on a Nikon Z7 II doesn't require the old reflex housing at all. You don't need the focusing screen. You have the live view image, you have focus peaking and everything. But of course, speaking of range focal distance, you need the exact distance to make this lens work on a current day camera. Oh, creative freedom. This series of images so these 4 images come out of a series of images of like 20 or so images that I shot in in Desert Center a couple of years back. Desert Center is a small abandoned ghost town in California, and while I was in that town, I only had the Lights Noctilux with me. So of course a wide open lens, and the sun was very bright, so of course I had to stop down a little to achieve a proper shutter speed. But I just had this one lens with me, and I stopped in this ghost town, and I was using the lens that I had with me, and it created this series of images. Yeah,
it's gorgeous. I see the vignetting on it too.
Yeah. So if you shoot it, in this image I shot it wide open.
Mm-hmm.
And if you shoot it wide open on a 35mm sensor, it will heavily vignette. But I didn't remove it for this webinar. So just to demonstrate what it does on a modern day sensor.
Also good to know if somebody has that and they're looking to use it. Good to know ahead of time.
So the vignetting will disappear if you stop down to f2. It is all completely gone.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Compatibility fun. We spoke about panorama photography, and Matt was teaching many of you about his favorite topic, panorama photography. And as Matt knows, and many of you will know, in panorama photography, you turn any automatic off by default. And if you turn any automatic off by default anyway, why not just use your favorite vintage lens to shoot panorama images?
Yep.
I shot this, I think it's composed out of seven images. I shot this at Zabriskie Point in Death Valley National Park a couple of years back, and I was using an old Russian 85mm lens back then.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Heritage and nostalgia. I already mentioned that the Carl Zeiss Jena Biotar 1.5775 is a lens that I inherited from my grandfather. And this lens too, when shot wide open, creates a swirly bokeh in the background. So if you use this lens for portrait photography and place your subject in front of, some leaves, some trees, whatever, it will create that swirly bokeh. And also this bokeh disappears entirely if you stop it down to f2, f2.5. It's completely gone.
It's beautiful. It's stunning.
Same here. Same lens used. Another interesting lens is the old Lights Tumbar 90mm f2.2. It's a legendary soft focus lens, which was built by Lights between 1935 and 1949 in only 3,000 pieces. And this lens has a little filter that you screw onto the lens, which has a little black dot in the center. And the combination of these two will create these dreamy images at any f-stop. And interestingly, this lens can be purchased new because Lights brought it back to life a couple of years back.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, Matt, I think I'll turn it over to you because now your images
Yeah,
come
my
up.
for me, I was never really into vintage glass the way that you were. My path through photography was a little bit different, but I did come up in silver, and I still have some of those tools around, and I have fond memories of working with my silver-based cameras. And I had a Voigtlander Bessa R, and I bought it with this Ultron 35 millimeter f1.7, and I used to love shooting Ilford XP2 with it. And the reason was that I could held the highlights really well, and I did a lot of night photography, but with light sources in it. So I took it out again with my Z8 on a foggy night, and I got that feeling back where it created this beautiful gradient from highlight transition to shadow area that a modern lens just doesn't do. And I was so
Do you
thrilled.
know when this lens was built or the camera?
I'm going to guess that it was in the 90s. Yeah.
Okay.
So technically not an antique, but yeah, oldish.
It'll get there eventually.
Yeah, it'll get there. So I was thrilled to see this look come back, and I enjoyed it. So I was walking around Catskill with it, and also when you shoot up close, the highlights in the background, the edges of them take on this beautiful sort of glowy transition that is a little bubbly. So the foreground where the bushes are, the flowers, was really nice, but I love the transitions in the background from highlight to shadow. And I look for things like that. And there's sometimes, when you're looking for those qualities to make your imagery stand out, it's the little things that turn into big things. And this just gave me a feeling that modern crisp lenses that are mostly edge to edge, the fall off doesn't happen, all that. It doesn't do that. So I enjoyed shooting with it. And then back in the day when this was on Kickstarter, I got one of the first Petzvalls when Lomo brought them back. Now they've done a number of versions of the Petzval, but this is the original 85 millimeter. The Petzval is a legendary lens that was developed for view cameras over 100 years ago. And it has this amazing swirly bokeh effect when you have a repeating pattern behind your subject. And in this case,
didn't that lens have like some unique aperture? Like,
yes, it has
you
water.
stick the aperture from the top into the lens.
Yep, they're called Waterhouse stops. So you have physical metal blades that you insert into a hole on the top of the lens, and there's a rack and pinion focus on the lens. So you focus using like an RZ67 or an RB.
Yeah.
You focus using that with an internal. It moves it inside the lens instead of a helicoid. And then you choose which aperture you want. The thing that sucks is when you turn the camera vertically, sometimes those Waterhouse stops drop out. So you got to be careful not to lose them in the grass, in the dark, which I've gone back to look for them. So yeah, so I love that one. And here's one that I shot years before just to show you. That's what it did to the stars. I was making portraits, and those are stars behind him. This is a long exposure portrait with flash.
So the stars were actually moving behind him.
A tiny, tiny bit. Maybe it was a 30-second exposure, or maybe less because he isn't that blurry, but it was dark out. So I think the Petzval is one of those ones that if you wanted that swirly bokeh effect, it's a king. I just wanted to point out that you also make telescope adapters. So I have an inexpensive Mac 90 telescope, and I was able to shoot across the river and get the shot of moonrise over Alana in Columbia County across from Catskill. So The telescope adapters are still technically camera adapters, and if you need to
Right.
adapt the telescope, you guys should do it with precision.
Well, a telescope is a lens after all.
It is. It's just a really long lens. It focuses differently. Yeah. And my final example is surprising. This is
that.
a Bellows example, but I photographed with my Mamiya 7 on film. But then my favorite way to digitize is to use my Z8 with the Bellows and the Pyrite lens and the Bell F Bellows to shoot repro, because a DNG version of photographing a negative is a lot more flexible, more dynamic range than a rasterized scan. To me, that I'm still arguing with Pete Mounty about that, but he has expensive scanners. He has drum scanners, so we'll see where that lands. He's probably right about drum scanners still being better, but it's really damn close to shoot it with a high resolution camera and a Bellows and a flat field lens. So those are the examples that I have to share.
So interesting that you mentioned drum scanners. Just last week, I was digitizing some glass negatives. That's something a drum scanner couldn't work with, right?
No kidding. Oh my gosh, it would destroy it. It'd be shattered.
Exactly.
Good call.
Yeah.
All right. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
We landed.
We already covered everything.
We do have 2 questions, and while we're starting to answer these, for all of you who stuck it out with us, that means everybody who was here from the beginning stayed. Thank you all for that. Yes, it is being recorded, and if you have questions, drop them in the Q&A, or if they're in the chat, we'll push them over. So Tom asked if it's being recorded. Yes, it is, and we will publish this. You'll get an email giving you the link to watch it here on Big Marker or on YouTube. And then the first question, I struggled to say your name. I'm so sorry. Dr. Tenelian, are you considering manufacturing helicoid adapters?
Well, that's an interesting question, and one that some customers ask every once in a while. But well, right now we won't make any helicoid adapters. Nothing is planned so far. Many lenses can be used on a Bellows, of course, and can be focused on a Bellows. But if you require an adapter with a helical that has a shorter flange distance, nothing will come from Novoflex in the near future.
Okay. And I think when you were referring to the Biotar, yeah, he said same asker. Did you have in mind Meyer Optic Görlitz?
Well, actually, I think I was wrongly referring to the Trioplan as being a Carl Zeiss lens, but of course I was shooting with the Trioplan 100, which originally is a lens made by Meyer Optic in Görlitz, of course.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Show us that again.
Yeah, sure.
There we go. Yeah. So yeah, Meyer Optic
Trioplan.
Görlitz. Exactly.
That's the original one, Meyer Optic Görlitz. Yeah.
Beautiful. All right. Well, it doesn't look like we have any more questions coming in right now. So I'll just add this. If you're watching this on the replay, that doesn't mean you missed out on the opportunity to ask us questions. Ask in the comments. We check in from time to time, and we will get back to you. We'll be delighted to answer your questions. If you'd like to know more about these adapters, you can find more information on novoflexus.com for the USA, Novoflex UK, and novoflex.de or novoflex.com for everybody else internationally. You can see that chart that Martin had. There are many opportunities for you to find one longer flange distance lens and adapt it to a smaller flange distance mirrorless camera, which is practically all the cameras we buy these days. So dream and pair it up with the lens adapter of your choice, and rest assured that you're going to have that infinity focus, and you're going to have something that's plano parallel because it's manufactured by Novoflex. So you'll have something that works with precision and joy and matches the quality of that beautiful antique lens that you're looking at.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much to everyone who tuned in today. Thanks for being interested as always, and go out and shoot and give your vintage lenses a second life on your modern day digital camera. Thank
Okay.
you.
Oh, we have one more question. Sorry, we just came in late. Sun Tom asked, I have several Hasselblad X-Pan lenses, and I'd like to use them on my Nikon mirrorless bodies. Does Novoflex have such an adapter?
Unfortunately not. No, we don't have adapters for X-Pan lenses. And as to my knowledge, the Hasselblad only ever produced 3 different focal lengths for the X-Pan Pano camera.
Hmm.
And that is a very seldom seen mount, and only a few lenses are actually out there. So no, unfortunately not.
Okay. All right. Let's see. All right. Well, now we can say thank you again. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank
We
you very
really
much.
appreciate you. We'll see you in the chats and the comments.